Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. I'm glad that you're here, whether you're viewing us live tonight, Wednesday at 7 p.m., or you're listening to us on a podcast later on tomorrow or next week. We're glad that you're here in the audience, and we're happy to see you and hear from you. Remember, share, like, comment. We love comments.
We do. We like those comments. And we need subscribers still on our YouTube channel. So go there and don't be square. We also have our store on indiebooksource.com. Here's our latest release right here. One of our latest releases. We released a whole bunch of different designs this week, and that's one of them. So tonight we have a extra special treat. We have a return of thriller author Paul HOLLIS, and he's got a lot to share. And before we bring him in, we're going to let you. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hello, Rob and Joan. Thanks for having me back again. You didn't really listen the first time, huh?
I love that trailer. That's great.
I love that trailer too. I remember when you first did it and we first saw it, we were like, how the heck did you do that? Joe Conjal says, hi, Rob and Joan. And of course, Paul. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, I actually lifted, with permission, lifted a segment of a Spanish movie that portrayed that incident in Spanish history. So I took that and as it turned out, actually, I probably could have been in the film because I was just behind that car on a street to the, let's see, off to this side. No, wait, that side. This anyway.
I thought I saw you over there. Were you wearing a beret?
No, but if I did, I got it knocked off my head because the explosion was right around the corner, and the only thing that saved me were the brick buildings there because I was trying to get to the guy before he got blown up, and even 5 minutes sooner wouldn't have helped him or me either. But anyways, I was blown over the cars that were parked on that street into the street, and it took me a bit of time to get back up and figure out what was going on. But that actually starts the movie or the book, really. The book.
So let's rewind a little bit. For those that haven't seen you before, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your background, and how this all happened, how you got to that spot and to begin with.
Well, first of all, Marjorie says Wednesday again already. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Marjorie.
Hi, Marjorie. Glad
Hi,
to be here. And then George says, "Oh, lonesome George, present and accounted for."
Hi, George.
Hi, lonesome George. Yes, go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
So I was born like David Copperfield, but not in the English Birmingham. I was born a little bit east of Birmingham, Alabama, in coal country and farm country down there. And one of my earliest vivid memories was making moonshine with my dad. That was my first illicit adventure into illegal chemistry. Remember that because that'll come back to haunt me in a few years. So what he did though was interesting. He actually put the moonshine in the car for gasoline, so that he never had. When he stopped by the cops, he never had any gas, had any things there, except in the trunk he had a whole rows and rows of mason jars, so that he could fill them up. So what my job was, after helping him ferment the liquid, let's say with a little bit of battery acid, because it makes sugar ferment faster, by the way.
Nice.
Totally insane and illegal. So my job was to crawl under the car, and he had this little shuttlecock thing that you unscrew it and it opened up a little running port, and I would hold a mason jar there and fill it up and then put it back on and cap it up and hand it out to him. He'd sell it for $5 or $10, whatever it was at the time, which was never got caught by the cops. But what happened was we had to. He taught me how to reseat valves in an engine, because the 110, 120, 150 octane moonshine was actually burning up the engine.
Burning right through the engine.
Yeah. So we had to every 3 weeks or a month, maybe somewhere around there, we had to take the whole head off the engine and start sort of rummage around in there, clean the black soot out and stuff like that, and reseat the rings and the pistons and back in there. So
James Rickard says you're not from coal country unless you're from West Virginia. But then he says he's from West Virginia, which we know. And Paul knows more about moonshine than I do. But that's probably because James's dad didn't make moonshine and teach him how to make it, right?
Well, that was not my choice. I mean, that was not my first educational adventure, but I do have another.
Yeah. But $5 or $10 for a mason jar of moonshine that long ago. Not that you're that old, but
he's been dead for 30 years.
But that was a lot of money.
So, well, yeah, it was.
Joe says he knows how to drink moonshine.
Yeah, $5 and $10. Yeah,
that's the North Carolina.
Hopefully not with battery acid in it, though.
Right. So yeah, no, that was not good, but it was workable, and people didn't seem to notice, and at least when they woke up, they didn't know what it was. I saw a man drink a whole tumbler of moonshine once, fall back out of his chair. I mean, like passed out. And when he came to, his wife said he had been blind for like 2 weeks before his vision came back to him.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
so do I guess it was worth $5 experience, but so,
he got his money's worth, right?
so let me jump forward a little bit to the 1960s, and when I started college, I started in the fall of 1967, which, as you all know, that was the beginning of the hippie revolution kind of thing, and I fell right into the middle of it, and it sort of changed my life figuratively, mentally, in all sorts of different ways. I was actually going to be a civil engineer at first, and I was going to build bridges and have my name put on them and that, so, but after one semester of chemistry and biology and analytic geometry and kinetic physics, I knew that the only way I was going to have my name on a bridge was to spray paint it on. So I looked for other opportunities during that first semester, first year, and it turned out that chemistry, which I'd had a little run-in with when I was 5 years old, turned out to be a good thing because I was able to distill LSD in the lab. And,
oh my goodness!
And I took it down to Chicago and sold it for $500 a half ounce in those days. That was 67, 68. And
so my goodness.
Are they still looking for you in Chicago?
No, they were nice guys. They knew most of them because they were Italians in Elmwood Park out west. If you knew that area. But
we do know. We do know that area
very well.
And my brother, I should probably tell you, is retired ATF.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go.
You watching, Dave?
Don't give him my real name. I use probably most of my life. I've used more fictitious names than my own name. But so, anyways, so back to college. Then I spent my first summer of '68. It was the summer of '68 after college. With the Democratic National Convention was in Chicago, and
we remember that.
So I hung out with Abby Hoffman and Rennie Davis and Jerry Rubin and Hayden, and it's like the whole bunch of them, and got to sit in a little bit on the what they call the Chicago 7. I won't get much into that, but
that's a whole hour in itself.
Just look that one up. But the next summer was my summer of love. I went to California that summer in '69 and hung out with people like Carlos Santana and Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane and Garcia. I knew them all back in those days.
Jerry Garcia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Deadhead.
Yeah, so of course, being 19 in 1969 set me on the road to go to upstate New York for Woodstock. So that's where I went to Woodstock in August 17th of 1969. So that's where I was for that. And there's no saying, I guess, that says if you remember the 60s, you weren't there.
You weren't there.
It's because of the drugs and rock and roll and maybe some of that stuff. But I do remember being 19. I remember being buzzed and wet and thrilled and hungry and everything all at the same time and at Woodstock. And what I don't remember is another time like that. So after that, I sort of moved my major into staying out of Vietnam, and that was very popular in those days. I almost got a BS in that. I did get a BS in that. But having gone through all that, my father asked me, "Hey, if after you graduate from college, I've been working with the feds in Washington, FBI. Do you want to join them?" And I thought, oh, you know what? I've just spent 4 years trying to stay away from carrying a gun, and maybe I don't want to do that so much, really, right? So I turned that down and I joined the Peace Corps, which I thought was a whole lot more better, right? I mean, that's absolutely better, right? So they sent me down for training to a little place in eastern Tennessee, which was near the Cumberland Plateau, and it was probably a stone's throw from the lost world of West Virginia. So if you can hear that from there. But I thought, whoa, what did I get into now? I'd rather be shooting people than digging ditches, right? And so at the first opportunity, I got this request that I could go to Eastern Africa, a place, a newly formed country called Tanzania, which is, if you are a jewelry expert, you'll know that's where the Tanzanite comes from, the light blue thing. But that's all I've ever heard had come from that was any good. So about 3 weeks into digging ditches in the rain, it was raining, and I was up to my knees and in mud and some kind of animal excrement, just digging latrines for these poor people. And this guy comes along in I swear to God, in a white suit, a cream colored suit. And he says, "Hey, I got a better offer for you."
Wasn't Colonel Sanders, was it?
No,
okay.
No, there was no chicken with it. He didn't offer anything that had a chicken with it. So I said, "Well, hell, it sounds better than this. I thought lions and tigers would be better than dinosaurs, but it turns out it wasn't any better." And so he says, "Hey, you know what? You just travel around Europe. You're on your own until I need you." And I didn't even hear the rest of the conversation. I said yes, and so he gave me maybe about a month's training with the guys who taught the SEALs, the Marine Corps, who taught the SEALs how to be SEALs. Gave me a crash course in basically staying alive if I could in that, and learned some weapon to weapon combat. That not much shooting, because I was never really good at that. When you read the books, my partner will tell you that don't trust him with a gun because he can't shoot straight. He only shot me a couple of times. So anyways, I kind of gravitated to a knife, and that's where I ended up with that. And I also spent a couple of weeks in the Swiss Alps with the Italian Army Rangers, mountain rangers that were sort of up there in kind of preparing for whatever they do, and it was like a survival training, and I had to eat catch, cook and eat tarantulas, which I don't ever remember seeing one of those on a European menu. So I don't know how that had to do with anything that I was going to do, but they put me through that in cold and rainy weather again, etc. So I finally ended up in Europe, and my job at the time was that you could go. I could go anywhere I wanted to in Western Europe, because the Iron Curtain was pretty stiff over there at the time, and that I could go and do and see and whatever I wanted to, all paid for. And if I needed money, I just go to American Express office and give them my number, and they would give me money. And by the way, folks, don't try that today, because they won't do that unless they charge your card for it. So I was a kid in the candy store, and then all of a sudden they said, "Okay, start following these people. Give me more information on them. We've heard certain things about these guys. We need to know if it's true, and if that truth is going to come to our shores, in U.S. shores." So I thought, hey, what the hell? That's easier than digging ditches, and stuff like that. So I developed my own routine. I got really, really, really good at disguises, and used all the in the 70s. It was like everything was like running water with disguises. I mean, you could you put on a pair of glasses and people didn't recognize you, because they didn't really look at your face, right? They didn't really look at you. And so you change your gait a little bit, put a rock in your shoe, and you got a little limp, and you're a different person. You put a beard on, kind of thing, and definitely a different person, because nobody ever sees you, right? And that may be some of the days today's. I mean, how that maybe people react to people, but they just don't really see people. And so I was able to get away with a whole lot of things of different. I mean, I had hippie dreadlocks in one of the books, and the whole tie-dyed shirts and thing in Dublin, that was, and nobody cared, nobody saw you, nobody did anything to you, so it was all about that. And I used shoe polish for hair color dye, and used also coffee grounds. Works well, and works pretty fast as well. And so you do that, and then it's like they don't know who you are. You've changed your whole MO, whatever. So that's how I got to Europe to start writing these books. And
so the guy in the white suit, he was from our government, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And would you say CIA?
Yeah, I would more than say CIA. It was not. It was not the CIA. It was NSA.
NSA.
Yeah, and he
Okay,
was.
so to be clear, you were a field operative for the NSA, and
Well,
that clip we saw really happened to you.
I was a contractor for them because they would have disavowed me if I had gotten myself killed right away.
Well, they're called disposables, as I've been told.
And that's exactly what it was. Was disposable, but I didn't know that. I was 23 years old.
Well, they used to run ads in the paper.
Yep.
For young, are you young, like to travel, don't have any family or anything tying you down? Give us a call,
Yeah, and I wasn't kidding. My brother was in the FBI, and this was before the DEA, and he was in the narcotics division. Then he went over to the Treasury Department. And I remember reading that in the paper one day, and he said, "Oh yeah, we call them disposables." He said, "We're advertising for young men with no ties, and and if they get caught, we don't know who the hell they are, and they're out of there." Excuse my language.
Anybody with a red shirt, right? It qualifies.
They were all in a red shirt. So, I did want to say, George said his first movie was in Tanzania, Hatari he was in Tanzania, in Hatari with John Wayne.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. And then James Rickard says Clark Kent took off his glasses, curled a lock of hair, and became the Man of Steel. And that's true. That is what he did. That's true.
Yeah.
But that's what you're saying. But I just want people to understand that when they saw that trailer, that book trailer that we played at the beginning, and that car was blown up, that
was real.
That was
real.
A real
incident.
That really
that was real. And there's a whole bunch more in that book that was real. It happened in Spain and France at that time.
So that one is the Hollow Man.
Right. That's the Hollow Man.
Book one.
Right. And so, yeah, at the time, what was happening was that there was a real influx in I guess what we would call terrorism at the time. What normally happened generally happened, I would say, before the 70s was that terrorists would go after a specific place or a specific person, a political kind of a person or whatever for all this ideology. But around that time, they started figuring out, hey, let's just blow the shit out of everybody and see what happens. And people started taking that a lot more seriously because it's like, whoa, you just brought that home to us. And so the United States was trying very hard for that not to come to the United States, and they wanted to stop it in Europe at the time. So, and they're mostly successful at the time. But yeah, what I was generally was a field contractor, more or less, because they didn't really recognize me as anything, and they didn't really give me a whole lot of support other than money. And so you just had to do that, and it's like, oh, you came up with these great results.
Let me read what Diane said. She said, I came in late because my writers group ran late. Sounds like I missed some interesting stories. Diane, you've got to watch this.
Oh, watch the first part.
Watch the first part
amazing.
Tomorrow morning, because you're not going to believe some of the stories you've missed. Go ahead. And all true, by the way, just saying.
And we're going to have to break pretty soon for a commercial. So if you got another short
we are
thing you want, pretty soon.
Gosh.
Yeah, this is going fast.
Because we've got to get to your second book.
Yeah.
And then we've got
the book giveaway.
Give the book giveaway, and then we have to introduce your third
book too.
Yep.
So
okay, another quick story here.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, in the first book, another true event is that I have it's probably not too visible on camera here, but I have about an inch and a half scar on my palm from a knife fight. A French gentleman who caught me in the south of France and was not taking no for an answer, and was generally adamant about killing me. And
But you said,
turns out that my wrestling career in high school saved me because I was able to take him down and kick him in the head a few times and ran down the stairs and out the door. And there was a huge big this was actually on Devil's Island, where they had kept the Man in the Iron Mask and the guy who theoretically was the King of France or Prince to be of France or something like that. The Man in the Iron Mask, right. Anyway. So it was at that prison kind of thing, and it was also has other things on the island, and so I looked in there. It was a big open wide space, and I thought, oh man, there's no way I'm going to run this guy down with my hand bleeding and everything like this, and so I stood by the door waiting for him to stagger down in that, and I cross kicked him in the gut, and it's like that made him really, really mad, and fortunately. My partner, who was late at the time because she had just actually finished somebody off in the woods, but she actually killed this guy to save my life. That was the first time she saved my life.
Now she was MI5 or MI6?
MI6. Foreign service, yeah.
Foreign service. MI5 must be at home then.
Yeah, they're home service, yeah.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's amazing.
So read the book, Hollow Man, because you will read all these crazy stories, but not, Diane, the first stories that we were talking about. You'll have to listen to the podcast tomorrow. Joe Conjal says, what an interesting life. And George Dismuke said it was Tanganyika before it was Tanzania. So anyway,
let's break for our commercial, if I can find them. And we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll do our book giveaway. We'll talk about 2 more books and cram it all into the next half hour. So here we go. See you in a minute.
We have a special.
Hey, look at us. We've got a new store.
Yeah, we do. It's pretty exciting.
What can you find there?
We have a number of designs available on t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, laptop and phone cases, pillows, and new designs are coming in all the time.
Sounds like a great place to shop for authors and readers.
Yeah, and it's easy to find. It's simple. Just visit indiebooksource.com, click on the store tab, and you're there.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book 1 of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
At Indie Book Source, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today. WLFE Digital Broadcast Network presents Variety Unlimited Television. Watch shows like Meet the Author Podcast, The Bipolar DM, Just Cindy, Card Pulls and Coffee, Unfiltered Talk with Bryce, and more. That's right, our shows are your shows on WLFE Digital Broadcast Network. And now, back to the show.
The IRA had a new weapon,
The car bomb. It was the perfect way to transport explosives. When it went off, it turned glass and metal into deadly shrapnel. The bombers could park wherever and whenever they liked. The Troubles had been raging for 3 years. Somehow, normal life went on.
So that's the trailer for this. London Bridge is falling down, which is basically now you're in Ireland in the middle of the Troubles.
Right.
That all really happened.
Yeah. Actually, there a little note of interest that you saw the winding of those timers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those were actually they actually took the insides of parking meters out, and those were parking meter timers. So they would set them as far as they could, 2 hours or whatever it was, and they give them plenty of time to go. You put it in the car and park it wherever they wanted to, and they walk away. So the Irish weren't as dumb as the guys who do the suicide bombs. It's like, we're just gonna walk away from this right now, and so we'll live to see the pub another day. But so yeah, it was a very interesting time. It really started in the UK and in London, and I don't know if you remember of Princess Anne being almost abducted in the
Yes.
street.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually there, and I got her and her husband Phillips out of the car and sent them into the park, and while this guy was going nutball with the driver and some other pedestrian just walking by, and of course, and then he had actually shot the driver who was the bodyguard and stuff like that, but he survived because I put I tore his coat off and put it on his chest to slow the bleeding down and kind of thing is all I could do at the point. But so then I got them out of the back seat, and she was not going to come out of the back seat. She was like, "No way am I coming out." She actually told the guy, he said, "Get out of the car and you're coming with me." And she said, "Oh no, I'm not." and so that's what's got him mad. And then some other passerby came by and started tossing threats back and forth between this guy who was trying to get her out of the car. And by that time, I pulled the door open and I said, come on, you got to come out this way. No. I said, yes, you do. You have to come out right now. You have to get out and get away from the car. And so finally they got out. He got out. Mark Phillips got out first, and then she and they said, I said, stay low in the shadows and just go, right. And so by the time that the fighting with the other guy was over, he had actually cracked him on the head or something. I don't quite remember, but then I kind of was going around the back of the car to see if I could help, and he was coming around the front of the car and so we ran into each other and I pushed him and I started running back through the park, and you know how people kind of meander along the paths of the park.
Yeah.
In Europe they do, but here we don't. And so I just like ran straight like a bullet across this thing, and this guy, he's trying to follow the path, to follow me. And finally he got the idea, though, that I'm just going to run after you. And so he caught me, and we started tangling a little bit. And then the police caught him and took him away. And I sort of disappeared at the end of that. But that's how that book starts. There's some explosions and things in that. But I have to go to Belfast and Dublin to figure things out of why and who are bombing. There's a supposedly a list of victims and places that I had to verify if they were correct or not, and figure out why they were on the list, kind of thing. And that's in the introduction to the book. There's a piece of a poem, about five fingers signing a deal, basically, that destroyed a world and destroyed a country and half the world. But that was really what it was all about, is to try to figure out why these guys were doing this and what it was. And it turns out that was just sort of the decoy. That I won't tell you what was really happening. Then you'll have to get that out of the book.
You have to read the book.
Okay.
And then I'd like to really bring up this, because you did mention your partner now, and this is Surviving Prague, and she's the MI6 operative who partnered with you, and she's in Surviving Prague a lot, which, by the way, people, you can't buy this yet. It's not out.
It's the next one, and he's working feverishly on it. He's actually writing it while he's talking. He's multitasking.
They do tend to write themselves, don't they?
Okay, right.
If you're a pantser, they do, and we are. So yeah. I
have 1,000 monkeys over here in the corner. They're all banging around.
Mr. Patterson.
Right. So what happens in this book is that she and Zita is the name I gave. Actually, she offered that name. It's her confirmation name for real. Zita, Z-I-T-A, and it turns out that in Greek it means seeker. So I thought, oh, that'd be a perfect name for her. So, but anyway, she's assigned into Prague because apparently the communists trusted the British more than they trusted Americans. So we did not have any presence there, but they did. And so they had a foreign service, and there were 4 of them there, and they had the three men with her all sort of met a strange death within like 2 weeks kind of time frame. One was drowned, and one was in a car accident, and I think the other one had a heart attack. And it sort of seemed like, okay, maybe that was all, just a cover, that, and they were trying to kill them to get rid of them, so that they did not understand and figure out what the committee chairman in Czechoslovakia was actually doing at the time. So I heard about this, and I happened to be in Munich at the time, which is like a 4-hour drive to Czechoslovakia, and so I put on my usual disguise and the little hat and everything and glasses and headed for the Czechoslovakian border, and talked my way through without a gunfight immediately, but within about 30 seconds, it looked like a scene out of The Predator with all the bullets flying and everything. And I happened to be able to hide behind a big boulder, so it ricocheted all the. Oh, and by the way, I stole the car too, so it was helpful too. So it was one of many cars I ended up stealing. I originally started out doing like they do in the movies, so pulling the dashboard things down and doing the wires that way. And it turned out it was a lot easier to sink a flat nose screwdriver all 2 inches into the key lock, and you just turn it and it starts right up, baby.
Wow. Okay. Good tip. There's a good tip, a DIY tip for everybody.
I don't know if you can do that now with I haven't tried it on the cars that have the those
key fob?
Key fob, yeah.
An
automatic stop.
Not the key fobs, but the the key fob I don't think it would work on.
No, probably not. Yeah.
But the ones that had the ionized keys, like BMWs and all that, I don't know if it'll work on that, but it worked on BMWs back then, and that happened to be I think it was some kind of a Triumph or something. But anyways, it was on the top of a mountain kind of thing, and so I kind of
real quick. Trisha Pipkins says, "Well, next car she steals, she'll try that."
Yeah, make sure it's an old one though, because I don't know if you can do that with a new one now. So
go ahead.
So, anyways, I'm trying to make my way down this hill, and of course the mountain, and it's raining like you've never seen before, like Noah's coming, right? And so I get like halfway down, and I swerve into the thing, and they're chasing me, and I back it into a crevice between some rocks on the mountainside, and the other side was like a 100-foot drop, sort of thing, basically. And so they kind of went this way, past me and didn't see me, and so they backed up. They didn't turn around, and there was no place to turn around, so they backed their big big machine back up, anyways, that they were following me in, and there were like 4 or 5 of them, and so eventually they just got tired of waiting to see if I was hiding or not, and they just backed all the way back up the hill a bit, and then so in the meantime, then I got back into the stolen car, and of course it's been raining like hell, and it had a canvas roof up top on it, and I thought, oh, just okay, so I pulled it back, and it soaked me, right, and it was stuck. Then the car was stuck in this crevice, right, and so I thought, oh, you know what? It was a stick shift. So all I did was I got behind it. I was going to push it out. Just nose it out a little bit, right?
This was going.
So I got behind the car, and immediately my feet sank up to like halfway up my shins, right, and of course, I give it a little push because I thought, well, when it starts catching on dry ground or on harder surface, it'll die because it's not getting any gas, right? No, that's not how it works. So I pushed it, and it took off across the road, and I jumped, and I was trying to chase and get this thing, and I lost my shoes in this mud, right? So I've got no shoes now, and I jump, and I jump onto the bumper like this, and I can't stop it. I'm like mud all down my shirt and everything, and my face, and I can't stop it, and it just goes over the side. Boom. So it took me like 2 days to get into Prague itself, and I needed new clothes. I took some trains to get there, and
this was the glamorous life of a secret agent.
Yeah, just
the
like
one that they have in the movies. Yeah,
just like James Bond and Jason Bourne.
Pink Panther, Peter.
Oh,
who played on the Pink Panther?
Pink Panther.
Peter. What was his name?
Sellers.
Peter Sellers.
It sounds like a Peter Sellers spy thriller.
It didn't feel like it at the time, but now it does, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
Well, now you can laugh about it, but at the time, I'm sure that was really
like
terrifying.
What else could go wrong? God damn! How? Why don't people let you break into a country? They can stop you all they want breaking out of the country, but just let you come in. I didn't understand that at all. So anyways, I got in there, and I got it's just a complicated long story, but I and there's a serial killer who uses knives, and is really, really crazy, and all that, but it was all a cover for bringing in what we call now dirty bombs, it made out of cesium, that would when exploded would kind of irradiate a certain area, maybe a kilometer square or a mile square, something like that. Not a big thing, but if you had 5 or 6 of them, it was going to do some damage somewhere. So
Wow.
that's what that
a whole kilometer is pretty big. But Robert White says without the splatterproof suits, the mud would stop the knife blade in the shoes. That's for sure.
Hello from Australia. Good morning,
Hello.
Robert.
Morning, Robert.
I never did find those shoes either. They were just buried in the mud.
They're probably still there, and some archaeologist is going to dig them up someday.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Wonder what they were doing there.
He's gonna find. They'll find a few dead bodies on that mountainside too, for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Boy,
huh?
I'm telling you. So the first book, The Hollow Man, is in Spain.
Spain and France, yeah.
Spain and France mostly, and then the second book is in Ireland.
England and Ireland. Yeah.
England and Ireland, and then the third book is in Czechoslovakia. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which is now the Czech Republic.
Czech Republic, right?
Split it into two, but back
Right.
then that's why I call it Czechoslovakia. But yeah, it's 99% in there, and maybe 1%, 2% in Munich.
Munich, okay.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Well, when do you plan on? Do you think you're going to get the Surviving Prague published?
Well, I'm putting the last 20 pages together. The last what do you call it? I don't even know now. Episode, the last thing that's going to happen. I'm putting that together now, and then it has to go to the editor. So I'm hoping really by Christmas or New Year's or something in that area. But I know that's a bad time to sell books, so I may hold it off for a little bit longer.
James says he hates to say this, but he has to leave early. Great stories, Paul.
Thank you,
Bye,
James.
Bye, James.
Appreciate it. Always appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for watching and listening. So, yeah. Epilogue? Did you mean an epilogue or no?
A finale.
Finale.
I was just thinking of the finale. Yeah.
Finale. All right. You still have to get the finale done.
Yeah.
Well, we got about 5 more minutes.
Oh my gosh. Seriously? That's all
yeah.
that we have left?
Yeah.
Oh, well, are there any comments or questions from all of you there listening that you would like to say?
Yeah, I love questions.
Ask Paul?
I love questions.
Yeah.
Well, I know your son has been doing a lot of gymnastics, right?
Yes, he has. Yeah.
So is that part of his training so that he can evade, all the?
No, I think he's going to put me back together because he's planning to be an orthopedic pediatric orthopedist.
Okay. But he's had quite success at his gymnastics, though, right? He's like championship stuff, right?
Yeah, he has. He's won over 400, 500 medals. I mean,
it's amazing.
Count them all. Yeah.
Trish says you need to have Paul on again. Yeah, we do. We need to have him on again for sure.
We didn't talk about it, but the book giveaway has been running for the last 20 minutes or 25 minutes. The book giveaway, the first 5 people, U.S. only, to email Paul at thehollowmanseries.com will each win signed copies of the first 2 books.
Okay, so
that's U.S. only.
That'll be you'll win a copy of either the Hollow Man series or let me bring
Hollow Man and London Bridge.
No, both. Both of them.
Oh, both.
Yeah.
Each person is going to win.
Each person
both.
wins 2 books.
That's amazing.
That is
and for anyone not in the U.S., I'm happy to send Mobi copies or ebook copies, etc. Whatever you want. So
don't hesitate.
Trish wants to know. She said she doesn't know if you've mentioned this, but do you speak any foreign languages? Which that's a good question, Trish.
I used to speak enough to get by in Spanish, French, and Italian, which are all Romance languages, all based on Latin, and English is that's a little trickier. But I did know enough back in the day to communicate in Spanish. I wish I had my son then because he's fluent in Spanish. I knew enough to get by in there, and not so much in French. I relied on Zita a lot, my partner, for the French, but it's because of the accents and that I couldn't really get a lot of it, but I got some of it. And I always, and in Czechoslovakia, I pretended when I was, when I got caught, I pretended like I was deaf and dumb.
Good job.
Great idea. Marjorie has a good question.
Right.
She
This
said,
might use up our time. We'll
I
see.
love the use of Hollow Man in the title. Was that meant to be an insight into the main character? And Marjorie, I don't know if you realize Paul is the main character. He really is that person. He really did do all these things. So yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, it is an insight into the main character. It's being hollow inside, not understanding a whole lot about what the world is like and not what's going on, and hollow about the tenuousness of life, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's just all about being an unruly, 23, 24, 25-year-old that doesn't know squat from anything and doesn't know the meaning of breaks in any situation. And you're automatically going to live to 30, so I was okay at the time, and that's really what it was. Where the title came from is being the Hollow Man is just inside, and it also explains a little bit more in the excerpt of a poem from T.S. Eliot, The Hollow Men, and that talks about being in disguise and not knowing who people are and what they are and all that sort of thing. And I did a lot of disguises at the time.
Awesome. So again, just to say where we can reach you, let me put this up. Paul at thehollowmanseries.com. Go there for your books. Mm-hmm. Twitter is at @HollowManSeries. Facebook, The Hollow Man Series. So
I have
and your website too.
I just reached 88,000 followers on Twitter, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Yay.
Good job.
I have fooled a lot of people.
You're not hollow anymore. You have 88,000 followers. Well,
I'm afraid that's the end of our podcast.
Like lemmings off the edge of the cliff, right?
There you go. Well, I'm gonna push you around a little bit. Thank you so much for joining us again.
My pleasure.
I'm gonna push you over.
This way.
There we go. And
and I also wanted to say, I hope everyone caught George's trailer that we had on his
commercial for
his commercial.
That was brilliant.
That was a really good one, wasn't it? He had a really great voiceover artist. Trish says, thank you, Paul.
You're always welcome.
Diane says, that's very interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Okay, so coming up in November is next show, episode 31. It's going to be Kaylin McFerrin. She writes psychological thrillers, and author Bertie Rivers, who's multi-genre, kind of a fantasy
horror,
thing there, and horror.
Fantasy and horror.
Yep. Episode 32 on the 10th. That was on November 3rd. On the 10th, we have Lisa Sherwood Fabre, and she writes some Sherlock Holmes books. That should be interesting. And a couple of others. She's a kind of a multi-genre too. Orlando Sanchez is going to rejoin us on the 17th with episode 33, writes urban fantasy. And episode 34, the day before Thanksgiving, we'll have Adam Gaffin again, sci-fi author, with hopefully some more news about some new books. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. We enjoyed having Paul, and thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time.
That's all, folks.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.